The Solar System Standoff, Earth versus Mars, a battle for Astratium. In the year 2148, Earth and Mars had become the dominant superpowers in the solar system, with each governing multiple planets and moons. For years, they maintained an uneasy truce, stemming from a mutual understanding of the catastrophic consequences an interplanetary war could bring. But the delicate balance of power was about to be disrupted. The asteroid belt, a region between Mars and Jupiter, was long considered a treacherous and unexplored part of the solar system. However, a recent breakthrough in asteroid mining technology changed everything, and Earth and Mars began sending mining expeditions into the belt. Both governments hoped to uncover valuable resources that could propel their respective civilizations to new heights. The discovery that shattered the truce was an element dubbed Astratium. This rare and powerful resource was found to be capable of producing near-infinite clean energy, revolutionizing space travel and providing the potential to unlock countless scientific advancements. The potential applications of Astratium were staggering, and the race to control this priceless commodity was on. Earth and Mars quickly established rival mining colonies on various asteroids, with both sides vying for control of the richest deposits of Astratium. Tensions mounted as each superpower sought to outmaneuver the other, and the once cordial relationship between the two planets began to unravel. As the competition intensified, skirmishes broke out between Earth's United Nations Space Command, UNSC, and Mars' Martian Planetary Defense Force, MPDF. Both sides tested the limits of the fragile truce, engaging in small-scale battles that resulted in mounting casualties. As the conflict escalated, the leaders of Earth and Mars realized that the situation was spiraling out of control. Desperate to avert an all-out interplanetary war, they convened a summit to address the growing crisis. But despite their efforts, the talks soon broke down, and each side returned to their respective planets, more determined than ever to secure the riches of the asteroid belt. The first shots of the Great Solar System Standoff were fired just days after the failed summit. Both Earth and Mars launched full-scale assaults on each other's asteroid colonies, intent on seizing control of the valuable Astratium deposits. It was a brutal and unforgiving conflict, with neither side willing to back down or compromise. As the war raged on, the people of Earth and Mars struggled to come to terms with the devastating consequences of their actions. Families were torn apart, and countless lives were lost in the pursuit of a resource that held the promise of a better future. In the midst of the chaos, a few brave individuals on both sides began to question whether the terrible cost of the war was truly worth it. As the war continued, the battles grew more intense and the stakes higher. Earth's UNSC and Mars' MPDF fought viciously over every last asteroid, with victories and losses on both sides. The Astratium deposits were heavily guarded and became the focal points of some of the most devastating battles of the conflict. With each passing day, the war took a toll on both planets. The once prosperous Earth and Mars faced economic hardships, as the cost of the conflict drained their resources. The citizens of both planets started to question the wisdom of the leaders who had plunged them into this seemingly endless war. On Earth, a group of scientists, engineers, and former military personnel formed the Alliance for Peaceful Coexistence, APC. They believed that the war was senseless and that the potential benefits of Astratium could be shared between Earth and Mars, leading to an era of prosperity and cooperation. The APC worked tirelessly to rally support for their cause, gaining traction among the war-weary citizens. Meanwhile, on Mars, a similar movement emerged. The Martian Coalition for Diplomacy, MCD, sought to bring an end to the conflict through negotiation and compromise. They believed that Earth and Mars could find a solution to the Astratium crisis that would benefit both planets and usher in a new age of interplanetary collaboration. As the APC and MCD gained momentum, they caught the attention of the higher-ups in both the UNSC and MPDF. Fearing that these peace movements could undermine their war efforts, the military leaders of Earth and Mars ordered covert operations to infiltrate and dismantle the APC and MCD. Despite the best efforts of the military, the message of peace and diplomacy spread. Soldiers on both sides began to question their orders, and some even defected to join the APC and MCD. The tide of public opinion began to shift, and the leaders of Earth and Mars found themselves facing a growing crisis of confidence. In a desperate attempt to maintain control, the military leaders of both planets ramped up their efforts to secure the asteroid belt, hoping that a decisive victory would quell the descent. Yet, their efforts only served to further inflame the situation, and the war seemed to be spiraling out of control. As casualties mounted and resources dwindled, the leaders of the APC and MCD realized that they had to act quickly if they were to have any hope of stopping the war before it was too late. They hatched a daring plan to bring Earth and Mars to the negotiating table and finally put an end to the Great Solar System standoff. The APC and MCD joined forces, pooling their resources, and forming an unprecedented alliance between citizens of Earth and Mars. They worked in secret, using their knowledge of the military's tactics and technology to orchestrate a series of sabotage missions. These actions were designed to force both sides to reevaluate the feasibility of continuing the war and the cost of their relentless pursuit of Astratium. The first mission targeted the UNSC's main processing facility on the Asteroid series. A small, elite team of Earth and Martian operatives infiltrated the facility, planting explosives that would render the entire operation inoperable. They timed the explosion to coincide with the arrival of a high-ranking UNSC officer, sending a clear message that the war effort was not as secure as they believed. Simultaneously, another team of APC and MCD operatives infiltrated a key MPDF communications outpost on Mars' moon, Phobos. They managed to disrupt the Mars Planetary Defense Force's communication network, causing chaos and confusion within their ranks. The loss of communication forced the MPDF to halt their advance temporarily, buying time for the Alliance to make their next move. With both sides reeling from the sabotage, the APC and MCD seized the opportunity to send a joint message to the leaders of Earth and Mars. They revealed their involvement in the recent attacks and issued an ultimatum: cease hostilities immediately and come to the negotiating table, or face further disruptions to their war efforts. The message sent shockwaves through the political and military establishments of both planets, forcing them to confront the reality that their own people were willing to stand against them in the pursuit of peace. As the leaders of Earth and Mars weighed their options, the citizens of both planets took to the streets in massive demonstrations, calling for an end to the war and supporting the goals of the APC and MCD. The pressure on the political and military leadership was immense, and they knew that any further escalation of the conflict would likely lead to widespread unrest and even rebellion. After weeks of tense deliberation, the leaders of Earth and Mars agreed to a temporary ceasefire and a summit to discuss the future of the solar system. The APC and MCD had succeeded in forcing both sides to the negotiating table, but the real challenge was only just beginning. The fate of the entire solar system hung in the balance as the leaders of Earth and Mars prepared to meet face to face, with the hopes and fears of billions resting on their shoulders. The summit was held on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Saturn, far removed from the tension-filled battlegrounds of the asteroid belt. Representatives from Earth, Mars, the APC, and MCD convened, each with their own agenda and vision for the future of the solar system. The negotiations were tense, with every side unwilling to make concessions on the most critical issues. However, the undeniable pressure from their own citizens forced the leaders to consider the human cost of their actions. As the talks continued, both sides were forced to confront the consequences of their relentless pursuit of Astratium. They realized that their rivalry had blinded them to the potential for cooperation and mutual benefit. The representatives from Earth and Mars began to see the potential of pooling their resources and working together to harness the power of Astratium for the betterment of the entire solar system. Finally, after weeks of intense negotiations, a landmark agreement was reached. Earth and Mars would form a joint governing body to oversee the extraction and distribution of Astratium, with equal representation from both planets, the APC and the MCD. The agreement stipulated that the new resource would be used primarily for the advancement of science, technology, and the betterment of life for all citizens in the solar system, rather than for military purposes. The news of the agreement spread like wildfire, and celebrations erupted across Earth, Mars, and their respective colonies. The people rejoiced in the hope that the war was over and a new era of peace and cooperation had dawned. But not everyone was content with the outcome of the negotiations. A rogue faction within the military, unwilling to accept the compromise, secretly plotted to seize control of the Astratium supply for themselves, with the intent to continue the pursuit of dominance. As the solar system celebrated the newfound peace, the seeds of a potential new conflict were being sown in the shadows, threatening to shatter the fragile truce and plunge humanity into chaos once more. What do you think happens next? Will the fragile peace hold, or will the rogue faction succeed in reigniting the flames of war? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel, Wonders of the Unknown, for more thought-provoking stories. Until next time.